Welcome to State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. The State of Wellbeing is a holistic well-being podcast with the goal of supporting the campus community as we strive to be a growing, high-performing, and healthy university.
Welcome to the State of Wellbeing podcast. My name is Kevin Sackreiter. I am the Executive Director for the Center for Professional Enrichment and Teaching Excellence here at SDSU, and you are joining the State of Wellbeing podcast sponsored by the Wellbeing team here at South Dakota State University. We are excited to continue our series focused on the Student Success Network and student success in general here at SDSU. Today, we are excited to focus our attention on our new student population. I'm excited to be joined today by Cody Burggraff, Director of Student Programs, and he oversees the Office of Student Activities. Welcome.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We haven't had a chance to know each other very long. You're new, fairly new to South Dakota State.
But yep, I started here in June. I am an undergrad from here, but it's been a few years. So
I think we all, many of us have that undergrad floating around from SDSU in our backgrounds. And so it's great to have you a part of the SDSU community. And so why don't we just jump right in? Let's start by talking about your role and your office and how they support students here at South Dakota State University. Obviously, today we're specifically focusing on the new student population.
Sure. So my area in student programs and student activities for the sake of new students really focuses on that new student orientation piece, that finding a sense of belonging, finding the sense of welcome to SDSU. And student activities plays a role in that. But specifically, with new student orientation, we really focus on incoming to campus students. My office doesn't work with the online population, but if you're going to be in person at SDSU, you are required to go through new student orientation. So that's an easy answer, but we get them registered. We talk about finding ways to get them connected to campus throughout that process. And we'll go into more depth on that later in this conversation, I'm sure. But we really are most proud of all the things we get to do to bring SDSU students into the community and create a love for this place that a lot of the community members are aware of, and the Brookings community in general, and some of our alums. So we really focus on building that sense of pride and belonging, ultimately while helping them get a business transaction while they're here for new student orientation and getting signed up for those classes.
So I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but how many students are we typically talking about going through that orientation experience?
Well, what numbers you see reported to the Board of Regents are from last fall, and I don't know the exact number, but it was close to 3,000, quite a bit under that, I guess, but closer to the 3,000 than 2,500 that went through it. And we handle them all. We try to treat them all like individuals versus a number, which is challenging, but we really do our best to make them feel like they chose the right place.
Well, and you have a lot of folks, obviously, who are probably helping you with that process. I don't know if you want to talk about them, but I know there's orientation. I don't know what they're
orientation leaders. Yep. They are peers to these students that are new. They can be orientation leaders, can be on campus just 1 year before they're eligible to be an orientation leader. And we're always looking for those, to welcome those new students. And yes, so I can't do that work alone. We have a lot of partners across campus that work with me on that.
Well, I know one of the other groups that I happen to see a lot because they utilize space in the library for the advising portion of that new student orientation experience are those college reps, the department reps who come and work with those students one-on-one.
They come out of the colleges, they're advising teams out of the individual colleges at SDSU. They're the experts in classes. If you ask me what classes I should take for X major, I'm not gonna know. That's why I rely on those content experts for that. But it's all part of, the main reason students are coming is to get the degree, right? So that's the main thing they want out of orientation, the onboarding experience, but we can provide more than that as well. And we do provide more than that when it comes to the building that sense of belonging.
So within the framework of our conversations, we obviously focus a lot on well-being and our students' well-being, but a big part of that is building connections. And I don't want to overstate your role in building connections, but you kind of seem like you're one of the front lines of that connection process. And so do you want to maybe talk a little bit about how you view building developing connections and things that you do to help support that?
Connections are huge, and they've shown through multiple points of research that I can't quote for you to go look up today, but I know the research exists out there that says students need something and someone to get connected to at a university campus. And something is something that they care or believe in beyond their classes, whether that's a club or organization, which that falls into the student activities category in my role, or a intramural club or sport that they're doing. And that just builds that sense of there's more here than just class, because we are more than that. Our institutional mission is to create that well-rounded individual, right? And then the people aspect, those are the colleagues on campus of you and me and how they connect to our students coming through. And that's so important. Those conversations you have with students, whether you're a faculty member, teaching classes, or you're somebody in the union with food service, you're all equally important to that journey. And building that, like, hey, I'm going to go to lunch here, and for me, it was, now I forgot her name, over at Larson Commons when I was a student, she Helen, some of you might remember Helen, but she was somebody that really knew a lot about the institution and knew a lot about the people and cared about the people. And like, you could give her a problem and she might not have the answer, but she'd make you feel good at the end of the day. So connections are important. Connection to people, connection to things at this institution to really make you feel like you have a home beyond that. Going to class, going to that grind, driving those 15 to 18 credits or whatever you're taking out. That can be a grind. So what do you look forward to beyond that?
I love that you used the word home. That's what kind of kept coming to my mind, is home. And for me, that connection was the advisor of an activity that I was involved in, and built that mentorship relationship and just really made this place feel like home and had that support system in place.
I think that's important for all faculty and staff at this institution to know that you don't have to have a special role or a special title on this campus to make a difference in a student that's coming through this place. And I think that's the beauty of it.
I love that. And I often talk to faculty about building relationships within their courses and the importance of, one of the things we talk about is the importance of having that 5 to 10 minute conversation, have them come to your office and talk to the students and build that relationship. And I think it enhances the class culture. And we've had faculty say that has enhanced the class culture in their courses. But again, it falls back on that idea of being that support and providing that feeling of home, that relationship piece.
Sure.
So one of the things I like to spend a little bit of time talking about is frustrations. And I wonder if you'd be willing to share, as you look at working with new students as they come to South Dakota State University and they go through that orientation process, what are some of the frustrations you sense that students maybe experience with us at SDSU or with the Brookings community? And then how does your office help support those students in navigating those frustrations? Tips, tricks, those sort of things.
The hard thing about onboarding students and the number that we do here at SDSU is the idea that it is not a one-size-fits-all approach. There are the things we do at orientation in a certain way, or the way we give a presentation, or the way we give out information might not match the way someone wants to receive it. And I mean, like, through mediums. They might not want to lecture. They might want to just see it online at their own time. That's one thing we're really trying to incorporate, is how can technology play a role in this to really get our students the information they need when they want it. And the thing we ask them to do in orientation and to combat some of that is to take a step outside of their comfort zone too. One thing we need them to do is reach out to us where they're at and what they need at that given moment too. So that's one thing they can do, is ask questions, because we might not know what that specific student needs at that time, but the population as a whole, we might have an idea, but that student might have a parent that is a faculty member or a staff member here or at another institution that might know a little bit more. So maybe they're further along in their process. So that was just an example. But as far as, some of the other frustrations is information overload and stress. When they're coming through that orientation piece, we give them a ton of information because the institution is a complex place. We are really good at making things complicated as a whole, just at our institution. And that's just the nature of higher education, is it is confusing with all the grants and scholarships and all the classes you can take to get a certain degree. So we just ask everyone to, slow down and ask the questions. I don't think I can state that enough. Like, we don't know what's going through your head. We'll give you all the resources out there and try to find a way to to get them to you whenever you want them, whether that's online or video format or anything like that. But you really have, if you need a question answered, you can start with our office, and we know a little bit about a lot in our office, so we can get you in that right direction to answer those questions as well. And if we, can help a student navigate one thing and that is a stress point for another, we can, find a way to pinch that off and get that information to everyone. So it is tough though when you're onboarding 2,500 to 3,000 students, getting them what they need in the moment. That's an ongoing challenge, and we'll do our best to work with those situations and those students as we go through it.
Well, I don't know if it's reassuring or not, and if people need to hear this or not, but I often say students and faculty have very similar onboarding type of experiences. I get the opportunity to lead new faculty orientation each August, and I think that when you said information overload, I was like, I know this idea, and it's a lot, and I often say the very same thing. I know a little about a lot of things, and if you want to reach out to me, I will help try to connect you, and I think I hear that as you kind of talk about your role in your office here at SDSU. So one of the things, obviously this is our well-being themed podcast. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking specifically to that new student population from your experience engaging and interacting with them through things like new student orientation, and just simply ask you from a well-being perspective, what types of opportunities does your office offer to support the mental, physical, emotional well-being of new students as they arrive to South Dakota State?
For us in student onboarding, student programs, we have a lot of really cool opportunities on this front. Now, we're not the counseling center. We don't have those triage points of the true, mental health consultation or anything like that. But how do we prevent some mental health crisis? How do we help you work through them to, find things you're passionate about outside of the classroom? So there's a lot of things we can do in our area with student activities and student programs to help you find what you're passionate about, even if it's a club or org within your major. A lot of those times, if you can find something you care about, that will take your mind in a way and make you well, and because you're doing something you love, and a lot of, that'll be good for the soul and the passions that you find in your world. We have over 250 active clubs and organizations on this campus that are student run. I think it's 274 to be exact. And the cool thing about that, if there's not something there in that 274 that intrigues you, come and see my office, because we can help you start one. Sure. Start some sort of club or organization that's about what you care about, or go with something that's already there, and we can, use that experience to fulfill the hole you might have in finding what you care about and what you love to do to be well and to be passionate. If you're one that likes to exercise a lot, there's groups within the Wellness Center. If you're one that wants to play, video games, and that helps you de-stress, we have our esports arena and that opportunity as well. That, we have Dungeons and Dragons Club, and just all kinds of ideas to really keep you active, I think, is the role we take in that well-being portion, is to really find something to be active in.
Well, my daughter, who's 16, would be very upset with me if I didn't mention that there was a Taylor Swift club here at SDSU as well.
One of the top 5 in attendance or membership is the Taylor Swift Society.
If she was in college, she would be right there as well. So I love that. So how would you encourage students within the SDSU community to engage with and with your office and get the support that you're talking about?
I think the biggest thing we can do as an institution, we already do this pretty well overall, is realizing that onboarding and orientation, retention is kind of part of everyone's world. And, you get new students every year at this institution, but we have to retain the ones we have, with good teaching, with good activities, with all kinds of awesome things that makes folks want to come. And then those folks that leave because they graduate to tell the next people all the good things they did. So really is a lot about making a conscious effort about when you're meeting with a student individually to, be in that moment, because you don't know what they need, and they might never thank you for that moment, but it really made a difference in their lives. So be in the moment, care about and care what you're doing for the students in front of you, whether you're an advisor or an employer, you're the supervisor of a student job, anything like that. We all have the same medium we're trying to get through to our students. And, go to lunch with them. I think that's something that is underutilized, is a $6 lunch at Larson Commons. I was wanting to bring up too, like, go sit with the students. They love that. I've done it a couple of times this year, and it's a cheap lunch. You can barely make your own lunch at home for $6 anymore, right? But you can make it even better for them, and get to know someone else, and just really be a part of the student experience, and get out of your office and go see them outside of the classroom. I think is really huge.
Love that. That's a great suggestion, great recommendation. And so we're nearing the end of our time together, but I always like to give the guests on our podcast the opportunity to talk to us about any upcoming programming that they might want to really focus students' attention on as we navigate the second semester here at SDSU.
Well, being part of or helping oversee 250 plus student organizations, I don't think it's necessarily fair to highlight any specifics, because I'll probably get called out later. But I think the biggest thing you can do is go check out our activities calendar on the SDSU website. If you're a student, Jack's Club Hub is your home. You can find that through Inside State. It has all the opportunities for all the clubs and organizations, and lots of resources out there. And frankly, you can come to our Office of Student Activities 136 in the Student Union. We can get you helped out and find something that you want to do there. But keep an eye on that calendar, because it is changing. We try to plan everything far enough in advance, but there's always things out there for different realities of what you enjoy to do, whether that's athletics, whether it's drama club, or any sort of that. Is just visit sdstate.edu and search student activities, and you can find all kinds of things to do.
Well, Cody, I want to thank you for joining us. Cody Burggraff, Director of Student Programs with the Office of Student Activities. I just want to thank you for your time and having this conversation. Such great resources, and I would encourage students to reach out and connect if you haven't already, faculty and staff as well. I think there's so many great opportunities. And I want to thank those of you who tuned in to this episode of the State of Wellbeing podcast for joining us, and wish you nothing but the best as you navigate spring semester at South Dakota State University.
Listening to this episode of State of Wellbeing, a podcast from South Dakota State University. This podcast is brought to you by the Mental Wellbeing Team and SD State Health.